Hello, hello. We are live for another Money Monday. Purse Strings is here today with Coach Mindy. We're so excited to have you.
Super excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. Today we are going to dive into kind of all questions about coaching and how to know what to look for and, how much should it cost? What does this process kind of look like and what they can really help you with? So I'm excited to jump into all of that today. Just in case anyone's new here, we are Purse Strings. We're here every Monday at 1:30, providing free financial education, bringing on our Purse Strings approved professionals who are vetted and approved to serve the female market, really love to serve the female market and empower women. So if you're ever looking for someone to go to, we have a whole list of professionals who are willing and ready and able to serve you. Mindy is one of our Purse Strings approved professionals. We call her a business coach. She refers to herself as a corporate escape artist. We'll dive more into that. But Mindy, will you start by just kind of introducing yourself, who you are, and kind of what you do?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So yeah, the reason for the corporate escape artist title is I was in corporate America for 23 years. Climbing that ladder, getting, my last position was a vice president position. I was in the same industry for 23 years. And for everyone's definition of success, spouse definition, parent definition, and let's be honest, even my own ego definition, I was successful. Had the income, the six-figure income, the title, all of that. And, I woke up feeling about 5 years ago, everything but successful. I felt very success empty. And, I realized that I had been for the better part of 23 years, putting all of these masks on, based on how I thought I needed to show up to get to that next level. And each next level, I was losing more and more of myself. So that led me on my journey of becoming a coach. And now, I help women who are going through transition, starting new businesses, just really looking to up level and even discover their purpose.
I love it. That's so exciting. So I'm sure you wake up every day loving and very about what you do.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's great. That's great. And so, there are those different categories, an executive coach, a business coach, a life coach. But as we know, all these things are very much intertwined. And so if you're kind of going on this new venture, you can really help with this, broad spectrum of items. So to start, what are kind of the signs that you might need a coach or a coach, this might be a good time for you to get a coach?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's really a couple of different things. So if you're, kind of feeling a little bit lost or, feeling like you don't really have that compass that is leading you to your true north, or you feel like you've maybe lost that, that's a great time to start looking for a coach. If you are getting ready to prepare for a career transition, even a promotion, and you're, having a little bit of that imposter syndrome, like, oh my gosh, I've faked it until I made it far too long. They're going to discover me. And, that whole fake it till you make it, I much rather consider, or what I like to think of that as is believe it until you become it.
I love that.
Yes, because when you fake it until you make it, you think you're faking it for so long that you forget that you're actually doing it, and you still
you've made it.
Yeah, exactly. So believe it until you become it. So yeah, and then another area is if you're feeling overwhelmed, just feeling overwhelmed, starting to feel burnt out. Those are all signs. And then another thing, sorry, all of these ideas keep popping in my head. But so like if you have super great ideas, you read a great personal development book, went to a great seminar, have all of these ideas of things that you want to change, and you're super motivated going out the gate, like we all are, our New Year's resolutions, then life happens and we're always the first people that we put on our own back burner. So working with a coach, having that accountability partner really mitigates the likelihood of you putting yourself on the back burner. So even if it's just to start achieving some of the things that you want to achieve, that's another great reason to look for a coach.
Those are all, huge steps in our life. So I can see how it's very helpful to have someone kind of be there with you through that process. I can also see how many women never step up to get a coach because we do keep putting ourselves on that back burner, and we do have to allow ourselves to be that front burner.
Yes, absolutely. We may feel like we don't deserve it, or we can't invest in ourselves because we have children that that we're raising, or, our spouse may need support, or all of the other people that we feel like we have to always put ahead of ourselves, rather than investing in ourselves. And really, there is no better investment and no investment that's going to pay a higher interest rate than that investment in yourself.
100% true every day of the week, and it will really help everyone else as well. And so what does the process kind of look like when you work with a coach? How do you get started, or, what's kind of the layout? How does this work?
So most coaches will offer, most of them call it a discovery session. I like to call it a complimentary connection call. Connection is one of my top values. And really that's what it's about for me, is just connecting with people. So, having these connection calls or discovery calls, you're able to really kind of feel out the vibe of the coach and discover if they're an energetic match to you. You always get that, and trust your intuition. If something's just not feeling right, coaching is an investment. It's not, specifically if you are working with a coach that is ICF certified, which I do highly recommend. Coaching is not a regulated industry. So anyone and everyone can call themselves a coach.
I'm glad you touched on that. That's a huge, huge asterisk right there. A lot of people can call themselves coaches. But can you say what designation you have again?
Yeah, I have the PCC with the ICF, which is Professional Certified Coach. And what that means is I've gone through over 160 hours of an approved coach training program, as well as have over 500 hours of coaching experience, paid coaching. So yeah.
It sounds experienced.
Yes. So there are only certain coach training programs that the ICF even approve. So again, being a member of the ICF and holding an ICF credential really makes you stand out, but really is important to be able to deliver, the results that your clients are wanting.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned that it's also, it's a match, it's an interview, a conversation between the two of you to see if it's the right fit. Just because they are a great coach, there's no doubting that. It just might not be your vibe or your kind of person, that your girlfriend goes to or somebody else. And so, it is that to make sure that it is a good investment and both of you really benefit and get that communication on the same wavelength.
Absolutely. Yes. And if it takes 10 different discovery calls or connection calls, that's okay.
Right.
Really, until you find the right one, there's no harm in having multiple conversations to really feel out what you're looking for.
So another question sometimes, we get around coaching and these transitions or the unknown is kind of what's the difference of, coaching versus maybe therapy? I'm sure you have people who get those confused a lot.
Yeah, that's a great question. And there is some distinct differences. So therapy, it, really focuses on, things from the past, traumas, experiences from the past that are really still affecting us in present day. Whereas coaching focuses on where you are today and where you want to be and the best path, to get you to where you're going. And it, so therapists often are, not that coaches don't listen, but therapists often listen and may offer some advice. Coaching is less about giving the client advice and more about bringing out the answers that you already intrinsically have within.
Yeah, definitely. You learning to almost trust yourself. But I really like that comparison of, yeah, it's more of the future and making action for the future than kind of going through the past and decompressing that.
Right.
Do you find it often that people kind of confuse at what point that they're at if they need a coach versus a therapist? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So there can be some confusion around it, and I have experienced, I've actually gotten referrals from therapists who actually are like, this person is better suited for coaching. So if you experience like severe anxiety where it's debilitating, you've had a lot of past trauma that is really preventing you from maybe taking some next steps, things where it's more of, where it's more debilitating and where it's affecting your day-to-day function, that is definitely more suited for the therapeutic space.
Right. Awesome. That's some great information just so people know the difference of those kind of professions.
Yeah.
And then, coaching, I think it's usually hourly, correct? Do you do it hourly?
So no, most coaches either offer like a monthly rate based on the number of contracted sessions for the month, or they have a coaching package where they offer so many sessions for a flat fee. So I've seen both. My rates are monthly, and it is based on the number of contracted sessions. Sessions are 30 minutes. Other than I am a master practitioner of the Energy Leadership Index Assessment, and that is one session that I do as a standalone, but that is one session that lasts like upwards of an hour because there's so much information in debriefing the assessment. So that's really the only exception. Yeah, it's an amazing tool. It really gives you an awareness of the different lenses in which you view things through on a typical day, and then how the lenses you view things through under stress. And it really gives you the ability to be able to be at choice for the lens you want to see something through, rather than it just because it serves you, rather than it just be because it's by default, because that's the way you're used to being. So,
interesting.
Yeah, it's not like a personality test like the Myers-Briggs or the DISC assessment. It's more of an attitudinal assessment.
I've never heard of that. I'll have to look more into it for sure.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So it literally, I thought I was pretty self-aware until I took that assessment, and wow. That's all I can say. Life-changing for sure.
Wow, I'll have to look into that for sure. And so if someone decides the coaching route isn't for them at this moment, do you have any tips or tricks to kind of go through what they're going through? I know it's somewhat vague since you don't know everyone's, situation. But do you have some general tips or tricks that you like to give?
Sure, absolutely. So a few things that are super powerful rituals, or I use the term ritual loosely. It can sound witchy to some, but just routines. So having a morning routine, maybe that it involves some meditation, some moving of the body, and journaling. Journaling can just, you can take that several different ways. You can journal about, what's your thoughts and feelings about the current circumstance. Or what's also very powerful is doing future self journaling and really visualizing, if you're going through a transition, visualizing who you want to be on the other side of this transition, and experiencing that through all 5 senses. And that's really super powerful in manifesting literally how you want to be on the other side of it. So that's another one. And then, I have a lot of people who, specifically executives or women who are super busy, super professional, and have work on their mind a lot, and sometimes have problems falling asleep. So because they are continuing to ruminate on the day or what's next. So doing stream of consciousness journaling for 5 minutes prior to going to bed. And what that is literally just writing whatever comes to mind for 5 minutes. You're not worrying about spelling. You're not worrying about grammar. You're not worrying about complete sentence structure. You're just literally writing whatever comes to mind for 5 minutes. And it actually acts as a kinesthetic transfer, like a brain dump. And it really can improve your sleep and your ability to fall asleep.
It almost sounds like, you just get little kids to run around for a while until they just wear themselves out. And it's kind of like, give your brain something to do, get everything out. It needs to stop thinking over, so then you can just shut down, which is makes a ton of sense.
Yep, absolutely. Because it literally, like, it acts as a dump, and it gets that out of the rumination stage of your brain.
It's wild. It's amazing how this works. And then kind of writing what you want your future to look like, what the best outcome might be, what it smells like, what it tastes like, what it feels like. I know sometimes I try to do that, and mine always smells like sunscreen because it's always on a warm summer day and I always need sunscreen on. So that's always like a scent, but it's always kind of like a homey, like I know it's going to be good because I'm in the sun and warm.
Yes.
But it is interesting to bring in, like, what are you tasting? What are you smelling? Not just what you see or what you're doing or, the amount of money you might have or something like that.
Absolutely. All 5 senses. It just really, it really increases the power of that. And then once you have that visualization and it's pretty locked in, you can start literally acting as if throughout your day, acting as if this vision, because everything that we can think of is already accessible.
Right. I love thinking about those things. It's awesome. The future is unstoppable.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. I think we covered a ton of great information today, about coaching and what you can really help with, and when, you might need a coach versus even a therapist. But do you have any other parting thoughts that you would like to share with our audience today?
Just a reminder that coaching, because, we all want to get from point A to point B like this. Just a reminder that coaching is a process. So just like with physical fitness, this is kind of mental fitness, and it's a process. You don't go to a gym and work out for a month and expect to have 6-pack abs. It's just not the way it works. So really,
so you don't have a magic wand.
Actually, I do.
Okay.
I have a magic wand.
Oh, she does. Oh, wow. I love that. But yes, it is a process.
It is a process, yes. And so just keeping that in mind and having grace with yourself as you're going through the process, and not having, some of those unrealistic expectations that we tend to put on ourselves.
That is for sure. We definitely do. Thank you for coming on today. What is the best way to people to reach out to you if they're interested in just setting up one of those discovery conversations?
Yeah, so my website is www.limitlessyoucoaching.com, and that's honestly, it came because I have an intrinsic belief in knowing that no one has any limits other than the ones they impose on themselves. So that's my website. Email is info@limitlessyoucoaching.com. I have a Facebook page, facebook.com/you-have-no-limits. I'm on Instagram, Limitless You Coaching. Also on LinkedIn, Mindy Johnson. So you can find me on all the socials, and my email address for a direct way to connect to me and ask any questions or set up a connection call.
Great. Well, we thank you so much for all this information today and helping all these women become financially fearless. Mindy is also one of our Purse Strings approved professionals, so you could always check her out on our website, pursestrings.co. And we will be here again next Monday with another Money Monday for you. So everyone have a great week, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Thanks, Maggie.
Of course. Bye.